what just happened with Jaime Munguia in his homecoming fight in Tijuana, Mexico, against a guy that really, on paper, had no chance, and that was Bruno Surace. Bruno Surace scored a one-punch knockout in the 6th round of that fight. So I don't know if you saw that fight, but Munguia was winning over the first 6 rounds. He was clearly ahead, but Surace was having times that he landed some good, solid shots. But Surace has spent much of his career as a middleweight. Munguia, of course, had been a junior middleweight and middleweight before, and he'd been in some tough fights. He had that war with Derevyanchenko the other year. He lost and was somewhat carried by Canelo Alvarez earlier this year. But it was still a huge shock that the undefeated Surace, who never fought anybody on Munguia's level, who had only had 4 knockouts in his 25 wins coming into this fight, and who was seen as the smaller guy and the underdog, just put away Munguia. What a huge upset. And I don't know where the blame is for that, but I also think that Munguia can bounce back. But if the goal was to try to build him up, not as the next Canelo Alvarez in terms of talent, but in terms of stardom, as somebody who could be the guy for Mexican and Mexican-American fans moving forward when Canelo does retire, this will hurt Munguia depending on when and how he bounces back.
Does this come down to what we've spoken a little bit about when we talk about us being spoiled when it comes to cards? And what I mean by that is, are we as boxing fans, are we as people who work in boxing getting used to a certain thing happening? And that certain thing is great fights being put onto cards. And then on the other hand, are we so used to the left-hand side of the fight card being the winners, and we're just, when something like this happens, we're just so, I'm not saying just you and I, this is the raw we, that we're just so shocked by it.
This was not designed to be a competitive fight. This guy was in there for a reason. It was there to have Munguia look good against, in front of his home crowd. There are fighters who surpass what we see on paper, who are much better than the level of opposition that they've faced and just have not had a chance yet. But there was no reason to expect that this result was going to happen. If Bruno Surace could not score knockouts against the guys that he was facing, the fact that he was able to knock out Munguia with one perfect shot. Yes, Munguia has had defensive liabilities. Yes, he's taken punishment in his fights, but this was still a huge upset. And it is a reminder that if you have the skill, if you land the right shot in the right place at the right time, you can do damage. I don't know that I would call it a lucky punch, but I will say that maybe one reason that Surace was able to do this and Canelo wasn't is because Munguia himself wasn't expecting it and maybe fought in a way that he wouldn't have done against other people. And again, just got caught right on the button with a punch that he didn't see.
It was a proper knockdown as well, wasn't it? I have seen the highlight of the knockdown. It was a genuine, proper. He smashed him, didn't he?
He did. And the funny thing is, in front of his hometown crowd, I don't think that Munguia got any hometown help. The count seemed a little fast for me. It did seem like he rose before the count, somewhat definitely on unsteady feet. And the referee stopped the fight instead of giving him a chance to move on. So that was the other shocker that led to the end.